Hey everyone! Let's discuss another biblical question today. We'll be discussing why was Saul so obsessed with getting rid of David? The first reason why Saul wanted to absolutely get rid of David was envy. After David's defeat of Goliath, the nation started to sing that David was a warrior who was more successful than Saul, and that made him really mad. And Saul was very wroth, and the saying displeased him. And he said, "They have ascribed unto David 10,000s, and to me they have ascribed but thousands. And what can he have more but the kingdom?" 1 Samuel chapter 18, verse 8. The Bible shows us that envy can lead people to hurt their neighbors, and their plans will eventually backfire on them. As Eliphaz said, "For wrath killeth the foolish man, and envy slayeth the silly one." Job chapter 5, verse 2. And indeed, as Saul was searching for David, the Philistines got stronger and stronger, and they ended up killing him and his family. It's especially important for Christians to not envy others because in the last days, many of the people they'll envy will be wicked. As it was said in Proverbs, "Envy thou not the oppressor, and choose none of his ways." Proverbs chapter 3, verse 31. And by keeping themselves from the wicked, they'll also keep themselves from the rewards of their deeds, described in Proverbs chapter 1, verses 17 to 32. Christians should rather enjoy the fruits of their own labor. They shouldn't worry about the success of others. As St. Paul said, "But let every man prove his own work, and then shall he have rejoicing in himself alone and not in another." Galatians chapter 6, verse 4. If someone succeeds, we should rejoice with them, and if they don't, we should console them. Romans chapter 12, verse 15. The second reason why Saul wanted to get rid of David at all costs was that he was afraid that David would turn his popularity against him. His daughter loved him, 1 Samuel chapter 18, verse 28, and the people loved him, verse 16. When his own son asked him to spare David's life, he threw a javelin at him, 1 Samuel chapter 20, verse 33, because he was afraid that Jonathan was conspiring with David against him. Fear is nothing more than a sign of lack of faith in God. For example, the disciples of Jesus were scared when the waves started roaring because they didn't have faith that Jesus, after all his miracles, could calm the sea to protect them from the waves. Matthew chapter 8, verse 26. And the problem with fear is that it can stop people from receiving the wisdom of God, James chapter 1, verses 6 to 8, and it can sometimes stop people from doing the right thing. For example, the Pharisees thought that it was the right thing to kill Jesus, but they hesitated because many of the Jews loved him, Matthew chapter 14, verse 5. Thus, if the Pharisees couldn't even do something evil because of their fear of the people, imagine how difficult it would have been for Peter to support Jesus during his execution. In Saul's case, if he believed that God would protect his kingdom from foreign and domestic threats, like Nahash the Ammonite in 1 Samuel chapter 11, there wouldn't have been a need to chase David around. Even if David succeeded in overthrowing him, he would share the same fate as Adonijah, who organized a coup d'etat against Solomon and who ended up ending it later, because Solomon, unlike Saul, believed that God would protect his kingdom, and God did so. However, the reason why Saul didn't have this faith is that he didn't have God's interests at heart. He chased after David when he knew God had given the kingdom to him, 1 Samuel chapter 18, verse 12. He ordered a pagan to slaughter God's priests for harboring him, 1 Samuel chapter 22, verse 18. He consulted a witch after previously banning the practice of witchcraft, 1 Samuel chapter 28. He was only ruling to keep himself and his family in power. Compare his relationship with God to that of David. Because of his faith in God, David often did things that went against the interests of the crown. For example, as the new anointed king of Israel, he could have slain Saul, now considered a traitor, in 1 Samuel chapter 24, verses 6 to 10, but he respected the fact that God had chosen him initially and he spared him. And when one of David's men wanted to kill Shimei for insulting him during his reign, David showed his acceptance not just of the lèse majesté of Shimei, but also of Absalom's coup, because he knew it was the result of his adultery with Bathsheba. "Behold, my son, which came forth of my bowels, seeketh my life. How much more now may this Benjamite do it? Let him alone, and let him curse, for the Lord hath bidden him. 2 Samuel chapter 16, verse 11. It's important to note that several people would participate in this same battle throughout history. For example, 2,000 years ago, Herod would be the successor to Saul, chasing the anointed divine king, Jesus. He wanted to kill Jesus because he feared that Jesus would remove him from power. To escape him, Jesus would flee to the desert, like David did before. And again, 2,000 years after that, a big red dragon, representing Satan, would chase after a woman, representing God's kingdom. She wore a crown of 12 stars, representing the spiritual 12 tribes that the saints would rule, as Christ foretold in Luke chapter 22, verses 28 to 30. Her child, like David, would come to rule these 12 tribes, and like Mary and Jesus, they would have to flee to the wilderness to escape an illegitimate ruler's clutches. And to the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness, into her place, where she is nourished for a time, and times, and half a time, from the face of the serpent. Revelation chapter 12, verse 17. It's this battle that's being fought today. The saints and the spirituality that they represent is being attacked by secularity, or the beast of Revelation chapter 11, verse 7. And when they, the saints, shall have finished their testimony, the beast that ascendeth out of the bottomless pit shall make war against them, and shall overcome them, and kill them. Fewer and fewer people are going to church services, and more people are losing their faith. And so, Christians have to decide what army they're going to enroll in. Will they attack divine institutions like Saul, Herod, and the secular leaders of our time? Or will they escape to the desert like David, waiting for the fall of all these individuals? That is what Jesus meant by his prophetic warning to modern Christians, saying, "When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation, secularity, spoken of by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place, spirituality, whoso readeth, let him understand, then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains." Matthew chapter 24, verses 15 to 16. And that is where I'm going to stop with this Bible Q&A. Why was Saul so obsessed with getting rid of David? It's because he envied David, feared David, and didn't respect David's God, all because he wanted to remain king. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe.